Hey everyone, and welcome. My name is Mikael Kleonissen, as most of you know that follow my work. I thought now that we have this option of going live that I would actually try it out and see if it works. Of course, many of the things that I'm doing right now would have to be tested. So I was kind of hoping that I could see people out there starting to attend and at least some point write some comments, and I will try to answer questions and so forth. If you have any questions, I don't see anyone attending, which is fair enough. It's daytime in America. Most people that follow my work, would of course have to I don't know if this is gonna go anywhere. Maybe I should have done this on a Saturday. Of course it's gonna take a while. Let's see what comments people might be making. Okay, I can actually check out the chat. Someone's watching. I can see one is watching. Feel free to comment if you're online with me. I wanted to check out this new live broadcast system of YouTube and give people the option of having a direct contact with me. At least this is the closest you can do it. Thank you. I see your comment. I'm glad you read my book. If you have any questions, fire away, and I will try to do my best. Should I mingle with any of the people out there from the left, I can only say that you're welcome too. But folks out there, I know I've been gone for quite a while, and I know a lot of you people out there that read my work still have questions. I do have people out there that contact me and tell me that they've read my book on several occasions. I've actually had one tell me that he's on my book for the 7th time. But I've been gone for quite a while. I currently live in Thailand. It's close to 11 p.m. here in Thailand. And yeah, if you have any questions whatsoever, I see that only 2 people are online, which is fair enough. I haven't been online for almost a year and a half. I haven't even made a video for a year and a half. So what can one do? We got to start somewhere. To you folks out there, I'm of course hoping that we could try to build something. I am not the best at making videos. They usually end up being something that I make videos 5 or 6 times in a row, and I actually think this live thing is better, since I can just have a direct debate, read comments, and try to answer Q&A from people out there that follow my work. So, but as most of you people that, until someone at least asks a question, and I'll try to answer any questions you have out there. Let me see there. Hey Mikael, missed you. Yes, sure, I would love to make more videos, but I actually think Casper here is asking, and he writes Danish, so I suppose many of you people out there, or the 2 of you out there listening to what I'm telling you right now, don't read Danish. So Casper is asking if I wouldn't mind making more videos in the future. Making videos is not my biggest thing, and not because I don't like making them, but because I don't find that I'm professional at doing so. I'm very pedantic. In other words, I'm very careful with my words, which is exactly, shown in my book. But I can't do that with videos. I wish I had the ability to be more thorough with what I do. Also, there's kind of not so much time. But folks out there, I would love to start making live, shows like this. Maybe I should place them on times when there's more room for it, weekends maybe. But I just wanted to test this. I wanted to go online for a long, long time, but simply haven't had the energy. I went back to Denmark in April last year to figure out what's happened with my children, and a year and a half later, I still don't really know what's going on. My kids have disappeared off the grid, and that is, of course, the cost of trying to speak out against the tyranny, or and exposing the truth about what's going on. I see that people, two people out there. Do me a favor, please comment. Write any comment you want, and I will try to answer your question if you have any questions. If there's anything on your mind, I think this is exactly how, a lot of people read my work, and I think this is a good way to be able to meet me in person and have at least the closest, tie with someone that you might follow. So fire away if you have any questions whatsoever. I simply wanted to do this live today in order to test if this is something that works for me. And again, fair enough, it is, I think it's around 6 p.m. in Denmark, so people should be slowly home. It's Monday, very early morning in America, so I don't assume that many Americans would be online at this point. But I do have two people currently. I'm happy that people out there follow me, support me. If you want to work with the work that I do understand, one of the most important things for me to try to expose or get out there is the fact that it's very important to make people understand that you are meant to feel wrong. We as right-wingers, and I don't really see myself as a right-winger, I am libertarian, or more leaning anarchist, but I think it's important to understand how the left works, regardless what type of system we are working with out there. It is about making you feel wrong. I'll tell you a little fun story. For the first time in a year, we've actually had some time to myself, my girlfriend and I, and went to Bangkok the other day. I live about an hour away from Bangkok. We went to Bangkok, and I actually went to a restaurant, nice restaurant, good food, fair food. And I met this guy who was, of course, American. And since he was American, of course, I started chatting and talking to him pretty quickly. I always take the chance if I have it and open up and have good, talk or debate with people. And the funny thing was that, he seemed very nice, and currently at that point he told me that he was from Korea, and I of course I don't know why I asked kind of stupid, and he I said north or south, and he laughed at me. He said, if it was north I wouldn't be here, which is fair enough. So I thought he was kind of objective about everything that he was talking about with me in a short debate. And I kind of looked at him and I said, your personality, without any debate about talking about, even though you seem like you're pretty objective and open-minded, I have a feeling that you're a leftist. And he's like, no, I'm not really either, and I don't see myself and that way, and I'm kind of against everything, and so forth. And we were talking forth and back for a little while, and I pretty quickly realized that I was right. And a little bit later, another customer walks in that had been a regular customer, walks in, and he sits down, and they start talking about how great Bernie Sanders is. And at that point I was like, okay, so the newest trend amongst liberals is denying that you're a liberal, or a far left winger, because you cannot get more farther left in American politics than Bernie Sanders, at least if you want to be exposed by some form of politician out there. I don't see any communists and in the in the political arena yet, but they will probably come because we are going that way. But yeah, other subject. I currently live in Thailand. I still do observations. I'm still working on my book, The Philosophy of Individualism, or my philosophy. But I do not have the same time that I did prior. So it's not as easy to write books. I can only thank you people out there for exposing my work. I hope you get something out of my work. Do understand, and also this is something to Casper and other people that live in Scandinavia, that the whole idea behind what we refer to as the Jente law, or what I use the term for in my book as manipulalism, is that you are meant to feel wrong, feel guilt, feel that you need to be inside. So it's important to understand that we are social creatures. We as people are social creatures. It's important to make people out there understand that this is what they use against you. When I lived in Denmark, I couldn't really find friends because it's virtually impossible to find people that are objective about their opinions and don't just have an opinion just because they want to have an opinion, but are truth seekers, critical of themselves and the world around them, and seek the truth. So it's very easy to feel like you're wrong because the majority of people are Jenters, or whatever we call them, socialists, regardless if they're left and right. And also, I see there's another person that came online. So we have 3 people watching me right now, which is kind of cool. It's very important to understand that Denmark does not have a right wing, which is among other reasons why this illusion, this folie à deux, a shared psychosis of the fact that Hitler was supposed to be a right winger, is still working. It works in Europe because the far right in Denmark, the farthest right in Denmark, is center left. Cool, great. I'm happy, and I hope you like my work and that you get anything out of it. Sandre, I think the name was. Thank you for being here with me. For the other 2 people observing or looking right now, I'm just doing this as a test, simply. I haven't been online for a year and a half, and I just wanted to test if this works for me, what it's going to look like after. So I'm just simply chatting. If you have any questions regarding my book or anything else, I'd be happy to answer your questions, which is exactly what's cool. You now have a chance to at least meet the author and try to get us close together about this subject. But back on subject, if there's no questions, the right and left paradigm does not exist in Europe. They have created an illusion that there's something called the right wing in Europe, but it is an illusion. I have been absolutely active in the farthest right-wing political party in Denmark for over 3 years, actually I think almost 4, and was active there. And 70% of the people in the farthest right-wing political party in Denmark still believes that education should be paid for by government, which is pretty good, for anyone who understands right-wing politics, that this is nothing. It is not aligned with right-wing politics. Sandre, feel free to fire any questions out there, and also the rest of you watching. Again, I'm hoping that this can be something that builds up eventually, and I can get more people online, and we can maybe schedule a live broadcast weekly where I'm trying to answer questions people have. I'm really happy that I actually have 3 people watching me right now. And not so much because you're watching me, but because I actually haven't been online for a long time. Casper is asking again, this time in English, which is really nice. The rest of the guys can now see what you're asking. How do I actually check out that? Shoot. Okay, I'm really sorry, Casper. I couldn't even keep your... You know what? Just give me 1 second. I will actually log into my own YouTube channel and check out if I can see the what do you call them? The notes that you guys make. See what's going on. I will answer you. Okay, Casper. Thank you. Let me see here. How long time ago is it since you've watched Danish commercials? Collectivism is everywhere. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Plus, you barely see one with only ethnic people in it. Danish people in it. Okay, so now we're doing the whole political correct thing where you cannot have a Star Wars movie unless there's a black guy in it. Yeah, I get where you're going with this. I don't know what to say about this whole process that is going on in Europe right now, but I think it's kind of funny that you mentioned this because no, I haven't watched any commercials. But if I said Ramachan, which is a Danish, for the rest of you guys, watching, which is a Danish channel for children, and I mean, I remember as a child growing up in a country where, being at least kind, and you know what, I'm not someone who is extreme about cussing. I can cuss, but if you have to say a sentence and every sentence you have is a cuss word, then you kind of tell a story about where you come from. But I think the important thing is that what your Casper is trying to put forth is the fact that we are moving into a world where the media is completely controlled in every aspect, even commercials now, obviously, from the left. And now they're even worse, in my opinion, brainwashing the children through the children's channels out there. Bad words are spoken, and it's absolutely common behavior. By the way, that was my girlfriend just walking past here. So yeah, there is a hidden agenda that people don't really see out there, and I think it's going to slowly move into America too. I live in Thailand currently, and I am exposed. I'm confronted with Russians on a constant basis, and I must say that I am absolutely stunned about how perfect my work is. Because one thing is that I could walk around and talk about the research that I've done in my own country, but when you meet Russians, it's like the most egocentric people you can meet ever. And next comes Chinese people. They're just not rude in the same way. They just don't see anything but themselves. But Russians are absolutely rude to you. I had a man sitting on one of these, it's called a tuk-tuk, which is the local way of transportation here in the city I live in. And he sat in front of us, two homosexual guys from Russia, and one of them started looking at my girlfriend and started calling her a whore and all kinds of stuff for no apparent reason, in the middle of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever. And these people are just simply like this. I live in a luxury complex right now. It's luxury. It's not very expensive to live here, so it's not like I live the high life, but I live a good life. It's pretty okay. We pay about $400 or $500 for our apartment here in Pattaya. So you get something good for your money down here, and Thai people are pretty nice people, even though they're pretty controlled by what's going on here in Thailand. But the things that I observed too in my own country was that, as I also write in the book, is that the point about social equality in the left wing perspective, opposed to my perspective of social or real social equality, is the fact that the whole everyone in society is supposed to become lower middle class people, basically, and eventually they will act like it. Everyone will, and as I mentioned a little bit earlier, even on children's channels, children's programs, you will start seeing cussing, you will start seeing absolutely bad behavior, because normalization of this is important in order to make the socialists look normal, because they're not. They're low-class people that don't know, they don't know any better, and all they can do is try to subjugate everything and their surroundings around them, which is why we have social equality. When we talk about the end of law, the only reason why we have the end of law is because everyone is supposed to be pulled down to the lowest denominator in order for those who feel bad about themselves to feel better about themselves. And in other words, this whole process, it's also written in the book, which is it creates inferiority complex, creates people that eventually are denied the right to say, you know what, I'm good at this. If you go to America, no one will say anything bad about you just because you might say, if you tell a friend, oh my God, you were good, that was cool, you did this, and then you say, sure, I'm really glad I had this accomplishment. To say something like this is absolutely not okay in Scandinavia, because now you're expressing yourself. You are suddenly in charge of your own self-esteem. And I know I'm kind of jumping between subjects. I will, of course, if anyone else, and I now see that I have more people watching. If you have any questions to the new people that are observing, fire away in the chat, and I will answer your questions anytime I can. Casper, if you are here still, try to observe Ramachan. Really, the children's channel, it's absolutely far left wing controlled, and it's one of the only channels. I'm very objective and open. But it's one of the only things I never ever let my children watch. And it's not true, because I always taught my kids that they were supposed to have as much freedom as possible. But eventually I taught them why they shouldn't watch it, and they would stop watching it. So of course the whole idea about the far left right now, and this is what's so unique about it, because what you really see in the world today and in America is this idea of Scandinavianism, or whatever we could call it, that it's taking over in America, and every illusion that is out there is perceived as like the world's newest way of succeeding in socialism. Let me see what Casper writes here. I have only watched the commercials, but not the actual programs themselves. Fair enough, Casper. I can only say that there are many things, and people that do this, truth seekers will always be people that go out there and observe things. So try to read between the lines. Try to observe what's going on. When people manipulate, when you see them on channels everywhere, how do we, when we work with these subjects of what's going on TV, do notice how we work with subjects of manipulation, diversion to another subject, interrupting a conversation, which confuses the person. These are the elements that I used in chapter 8 when I have the part of the book which is called Predicting a Debate, Debating a Left-Winger. And do understand, one question I might want to answer right now, because a lot of people write me this one question. what do you do with a narcissist? How do you act around them? What do you do? And I can only say one question. I'll give you one answer to this simple question. Stay away. I have very, very little contact with any family in my country. And it's not because I don't want to, it's just I want the least of it. Because I can't deal with the fact that I cannot be me. I cannot have a normal debate. I cannot talk normally. I cannot say what I think, because you just simply can't. There's no way that you can otherwise you will have these people jumping in their seat simply from inhibitions. So it's one of these things where there's only one thing to do. And in most cases you will see that these people actually themselves will run away from you. They will find reasons as not to do it. My uncle was a Facebook friend of mine. Never had a debate with him, ever. Not one debate. Friends of mine, really good friends through maybe 15 years of my life, and many others simply unfriended me and don't want to talk to me anymore without any debate, simply because I talk the way I do. And my recommendation is for you people out there, if you really want to be able to have the power to be truth seekers and freedom enthusiasts, try to stay around people that are freedom enthusiasts. When you meet the farthest right wing, there is a reason why I am a far right winger. And I can explain every detail of why I am a far right winger through psychology. And I can do so because I can explain to you that from a paradigm and a perspective of freedom versus the tyranny that you find in socialism and fascism. I think people should just forget the word fascism, because socialism is fascism. But it's important for people to understand that when you talk psychology, you use the terminology which is known as boundaries. Good boundaries versus bad boundaries. And an individual that understands that this is my body, I own it, and I do not have the right to intrude on someone else. Of course, I can come up with the illusion that I need social equality, I need all this stuff, and people should have this, and there are people live in the street, and blah, 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 blah. But people have to understand that what the socialist does is that they will always evade attention, evade the real question, which is what do they get out of what they want. Let me see here. Of course it is. The left and right paradigm is the whole illusion. I mean, I think one of the best things to do is say, you know what, forget this left and right. I mean, in my philosophy, there is freedom, and then I don't care which side you move it to. There's only one way you can move it, and then, well, you can't say right or left. I think it's better just to say bigger and smaller, because it's all about how much freedom you have, and you cannot have freedom with a big government, because, I mean, a government is there for one sole purpose, which is to control you. So don't complain that you're being controlled if you have a big government, because it's only logical. They are there for that. And one big illusion about government is that they think that governments are there for the people. No. The government is an absolute separate organism. It is a collective, absolutely working on its own for one single purpose, and that is for their own attention. It is all about narcissism and control. So the people that seek to these places are, I mean, it's the same with cops. I don't have a problem with the policeman, but the problem is that most people that work as policemen will be severely narcissistic. People that seek into controlling others will always be severely narcissistic. So it's important for society to be in charge of those people. I believe deeply that a policeman should have ultimate power, but I should have the equal power to say, you are not using that ultimate power professionally. So in these elements of things, yes, as I don't know if your name is Cream, I don't think your name is Cream, but fair enough. Another question here. Absolutely, I believe cops have changed, and they will. It's the same in my country. Do not think that cops and the policemen in Denmark are not aggressive. Absolutely not. They're deeply aggressive. I've tried on several occasions getting beaten up in Denmark because I did not want or didn't do just what they wanted me to do. I have a little story. I'm going to read a couple of comments, and I'm going to tell a story about Denmark. We could go through a couple of things about harsh episodes about things or lifestyle in Denmark. Do understand I lived away from Denmark for many years, but I still traveled back. And the funny thing is, I've traveled everywhere in the world, and lived over 20 years abroad, and never been in trouble. Not once abroad, not once. But I have been in trouble on several occasions in my country, Denmark, because it is an absolute tyranny. Let me see what people here are writing. It says original meaning of left and right was fine. Less versus more government. Yeah, but that's not what people are using anymore, because then if they did use the less versus big government, then they cannot place Hitler on the right wing anymore. Do remember that one, Sandre. And do remember that the left wing needs to place evil amongst what is known as libertarians, because it has nothing to do with it, because otherwise the socialists cannot perceive themselves as the good people they think they are. This whole left and right illusion is absolutely vital to the continuation of disseminating socialism. Otherwise, I mean, I usually ask people, they say, mention how many places you can find in the world currently that are right-wing, but like North Korea. I would like you to see just one place. Old school cops were much better and more human. I'm pretty sure they were. And I mean, when I lived in San Francisco in the 90s, end of the 90s, I found a wallet on the street. And I know for a fact that the money I gave it to a policeman, I know for a fact that the wallet actually ended up with that person I give it to a cop, and I know the person got the money. I'm sure that things are changing, but the more power given to the cops, which comes with bigger government, the more narcissistic and the more controlling they are, and the less you can oppose their authority. So the balance of their authority is uneven suddenly. Let me see what is Sandra driving here? Sandra, no, I disagree. The whole problem is that there is a left versus right split, and they are at odds. They should be complementary. I'm really sorry, Sandra, but I don't understand your what you're disagreeing with. But it's fair enough, no problem. Let me see if there are any other questions here. I'm going to jump a little to Casper. How many mad Danes have you had attacking you because of that? Oh my God. Do me a favor, Casper. Jump on the video, which is called Denmark has 80% tax, 100% slavery, and check out the comments. A very common thing to the brand 23, Denmark has always been fascist. The elements of fascism in itself, when you look at what most people and also Americans know, the big container ships, blue container ships called the Maersk Sealand, the whole element of Denmark is built on a fascist thing. When you meet the right wing in America, in Denmark, they are the fascist side versus the egalitarian side of Denmark, which is the left. But it's all left wing. There is no right wing in Denmark at all whatsoever. But yeah, I always say this. The idea of social equality will always swing right again, but it will never go over towards ending up in freedom. It will just shift towards the center left, but never reach anything else. When you look at things, I do believe that Hitler would be somewhere in the center between what you call the left wing in general. So he would have been somewhere in the middle of what you know as the liberals. When we work with these subjects, I think it's more important to work with the subjects from an emotional standpoint, because you can place a lot of elements on these things. When we work, and back to Sandrine, sorry, I misspelled your name, sorry. Sandrine, is when we work with the concept of small government versus big government. I can work with this subject and I can put philosophy upon it. When you work with the subject that they're trying to perceive is the true subject, as the left and right, where you place Hitler on one side and Stalin on the other, you cannot do anything with it, because where do you place the one that wants minimum government? There is no room for that type of philosophy on that paradigm. The only real paradigm that works for real is the small versus big. So you start off with anarchy, which means in Greek, without master. A lot of people think that it means without government. It doesn't. It means without master. And then we have the libertarian philosophy, which is classical liberalism. And the point here is that now you can place upon the individual thinker, the person that believes in this philosophy, you can put the ideas psychologically, which is known as positive boundaries. The individual that believes in libertarianism will always perceive themselves as someone who has positive boundaries. They understand that someone else is not an object for their exploitation. They don't feel entitled to someone else's rights and so forth. Let me read another comment here. I mean that the right and left should be in concord. Why cannot there be one party that is both conservative, labor, green, and look after all the nation's requirements? I think my take on this is that I am libertarian. When I talk to people about my philosophy, I am an anarchist, but I'm also not an idiot. I'm also someone who understands that the world is not going to just want what I want because I want something. So I submit myself to a lesser form of freedom, which is at least a form of administration when we work with these subjects. So I see myself as libertarian, at least currently. But when the philosophy of individualism comes out, the philosophy is based on the idea that it's objective. It can move depending on the society. So you achieve the highest form of freedom, regardless if you have a little bit of government or if you get closer to anarchy. The main point is to get as close to anarchy as possible, so we have the highest form of freedom. But if you just have anarchy, you might not have a lot of freedom because you have a threat from someone else. Back on subject here, let me see what people are writing. Regarding cream, for example, I do not believe in voting. I do not believe that I personally have the right to vote myself to someone else's freedom. And when we work on the subject of why socialism, or what they want to perceive now, because socialism has a bad rep, they want to use the word welfare, which has nothing to do with welfare for as long as I am not, for as long as I don't want to participate, because that's not welfare for me. But of course they use very nice terminology, so it sounds great and so forth. The important thing behind these subjects is that I don't believe much in conspiracy. I believe much in fact. So when I'm telling you this, do understand, and I'm not telling you that I know the truth. I think I know some truth. I think it's important to look at socialism as a scheme. It is the biggest scheme, the biggest scheme ever made in history of mankind. the way that you make money today is made through government giving out handouts, creating money through the Reserve or World Bank. And so this is how money are created in societies. But in this process, you have a debt that we will pay. I am not very good at this whole process of explaining how this system works. I will be happy to place a link online after this video is over to give people an idea where they can watch about 10 minutes of a video that will show them why we have socialism, why they need this welfare and these handouts to be there currently. Because what we are due to is we are subject to a form, or very, very obscured ambient form of slavery, where the only winner, regardless if you vote on the left or the right wing, it doesn't matter what you do. One could only hope that someone who was not a politician like Trump could do some changes, but I think you need to go much deeper in order to split the system and get the freedom back to the people. Because already now the objective has been achieved, which is that America has an immense debt. And it's the same thing in Denmark. Denmark has a huge debt. It's already at 80% minimum going back to government from your earnings. And in general, it already now both the female and male need to be at work in Denmark, which is of course very great. We invented feminism to make women think that they want to go out and work, which I don't have a problem with whatsoever. But the fact is that it's very smart because it now makes the women want to work. But in most places in America, you can still work one parent and one parent taking care of the kids, which is exactly the way that a family structure should be built, because we need as parents to take and raise our own children, unlike in a country like Denmark, or where the government raises our children. I think it's very important to understand that, as I said again, the whole manipulation system is created in a way that the world banks win regardless which way, or banks in general win regardless which way you twist and turn this. Because Denmark has the highest, if not second highest, household debt in the world per capita, which is of course for the bank's advantage, because everything's so expensive that you have to earn money. And of course people are so discontent that they buy stuff they don't need. So when we talk about consumerism and people accuse me of being a consumerist and you're this and that, I usually say, you know what, I'm actually a minimalist in that regards. I'm gonna start, hey Lars, nice to see you. Nice having you guys back. Let me see what people are writing. I think a few comments came in. Let me see here. Hitler was a totalitarian, but he was totalitarian in the way that he still supported freedom to an extent. Especially, yeah, but again, Casper, you cannot have freedom with big government. And he was a dictator, so that's not entirely true. And I don't see him as any different than Stalin. Same stuff, dictators, same shit, sorry. I don't know if I'm giving you the response that you wanted. But again, if you want freedom, you can never have big government. Sandre, unfortunately, today the majority of people confuse the word anarchy with anormy. I don't know what anormy means, but I'd look into that later. I love learning. Let's jump across. It looks like you guys are having a small debate here. Yeah, exactly. There's something here. Cream bun. We are total slaves. Yes, indeed we are. That's the whole point about this. And the funny thing is that socialism makes these people on the left believe that they work against the big evil capitalist. But what they do is they support the rich man who, I mean, my girlfriend is born and raised in Russia, and have lived a life post-communism, and so I know the whole thing about feeling wise. I've used a year and a half now and analyzing my girl, figuring this out. How people feel over there, and the funny thing about socialism, communism, all these regimes is that they end up in the same exact way. When communism fell, the government owned, or the supposed people, the populace of Russia owned everything. But when communism fell, the big corporations went in to Russia and bought everything, power grids, transportation, so forth, for candy. And what you see is the exact same thing happening in Denmark currently. That the big governments are going in to buy things, and I truly believe that things should be privatized and not government owned. Unfortunately, the problem is that DSB, which is the Danish Railways, are going to be sold sometime in the future. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. One of the first things that you saw being sold was our phone companies that governments owned in Denmark, and recently I know that our power company, electricity company, was sold to Goldman Sachs, and this is exactly where, I mean, socialism. I do understand why major corporations love socialism, because in the end they're going to be able to buy things for nothing. And what socialism really is corporatism. It is crony capitalism. There is no real. We all know this. I know I'm not talking to people that are not uneducated in any whatsoever way. So that socialism is crony capitalism, even though Bernie Sanders perceives that he was going to go out and fight the big guys. But let me get back for a second here to see what comments you guys are making. It's nice to see you here, Lars, if you are still here. Let me see what you're writing. The fear, Lars is writing. By the way, Dane, I know he's libertarian. We've had a couple of debates. So the fear was that this would cause inflation, I think, but apparently it didn't. You shouldn't really look at yeah, I get it. I mean, we never really know. But Lars, when we talk about Denmark, do understand that we are now looking at an average take back of levies. And I know most people that, I mean, I don't know if you understand word levies, but when we talk about taxes, it's easier to say levies because it includes duties, fees, and all kinds of subjects on the matter of what government takes back. That government takes no less back from you than 80%. And it is on the rise. They will just tell you that you need, to have more levies on fattening products, and candy should have little extra taxes, cars this and cars that, and all this stuff. And in the end, the government is still borrowing money. At least last time I looked into it, the Danish government is borrowing 700 euro per second in order to sustain giving the handouts to people out there. So it is only going in one direction, and it will never stop. I am one of those who fear that there will be nothing left when I'm getting old. I know that you're sort of the same age as me, Lars. So I'm in my 40s now. I'm turning 43 in September 25th. So I will be one of those that I don't believe there will be any money left for getting my pension when I get old enough for this. 30 years from now, there will be no such thing as the happy Denmark that people know. And the joke about this whole thing is, as also I try to put forth a lot in the videos, is that socialists are literally people that eat out of the bowl of their own children and their grandchildren's grandchildren and so forth, because they're the ones that are going to pay for it in the long run. People that enjoy socialism in Denmark right now, yeah, fine. There's nothing to say. Everything looks really crystal clear and nice. But money don't grow on trees, and Denmark is losing. And it will not be different than what you find in post-communism. Let me see what comments are here. Did I miss your first comment, Lars? Let me look back and see if I... Okay. Just saw a video on how Japan's bank have bought... Oh, a video on about 40% of the national debt. Do you know anything about this? No, I don't know anything about this. Lars, do understand, and also to you folks out there, even though we talk about different subjects, my subject is emotions. It is psychology. It is psychopathy, sociopathy, narcissism, understanding the psychology behind what's going on emotionally, talking about philosophy and so forth. Of course, I try to educate myself on economics, but it is not my strongest side. But yeah, of course, I'm pretty sure that banks are going to be involved in this, because we are currently subject to what I refer to, and I've already done that earlier, as perfect bank slavery. If it's the really big banks or smaller banks that get an advantage on this, they all get an advantage on it. They absolutely do. Because when government borrows money in your name without your consent, they eventually will have to pay the money back, and not only do they have to be paid back, but we also pay interest on it, which is the perfect slavery. And I mean, I always tell people, I say, in my personal opinion, when we talk about systems out there, and you know what, folks, I'm going to give this about 5 minutes more, and then I'm going to say goodbye. I just wanted to test this, and I'm really grateful that about 10 or 15, 20 people, showed up and just looked, and I'm really grateful that you folks came by and looked at the channel. I will try to do this a little more professionally over time and learn how to, schedule these things and do it in a sense that you people can get some advantage out of, asking questions and so forth. I am not some genius. I'm just a normal guy that was lucky enough to travel many years around the world and do observations. And yes, of course, my personality comes along with it, which makes me very individualistic. So, I found some truth to things. Most things that I hear spoken about when people talk about Ayn Rand and so forth comes naturally to me. These are not things I had to think about when we talk about, I don't have to learn them because they come naturally to you if you are deeply individualistic. When you live the simple philosophy of this is my body and that's your body and my freedom stops where your freedom starts. When you live that philosophy, you can't get any higher. You cannot prove that you have higher and more beautiful boundaries between self and other, which is proving that you are the least narcissistic individual in the world. There comes no higher philosophy in the world than that one notion. And if all your philosophy can derive from that one perspective, you will eventually have the highest philosophy, regardless. And all people, just like when a Christian talks to another Christian or socialist talks to another socialist, when people have that standpoint, they always reach the same conclusion in the end, regardless which way you twist and turn these things. Let me see here. There are a lot of comments on these things. You can be organized without a ruler. I do. Sandrine, to your comment here about rulers, I do not believe. A lot of people, when they talk about anarchy, use this argument pretty quickly. When they say, oh, Lord of the Flies, never worked, blah, blah, blah. Anarchy cannot work, ever. And I say, excuse my French, but bull. Absolutely bull. We live in a different world. The world moves. 5,000 years from now, things are not going to look the same as now. Humanity is learning. I'm not here sitting and saying that it is even possible. I don't know. When looking at humanity right now, we like to kill each other and be stupid, so maybe not. But the main point is, I will at some point publish the philosophy of individualism, which is written as an objective philosophy that is not having one standpoint. It has child psychology, complete philosophy behind every single aspect of being a libertarian or an anarchist to unite the paradigm on the far right. But the main point is, when people use this perspective of Lord of the Flies, they forget that the problem is that what they're talking about here are children. And exactly this, I look at the humanity right now in the same manner. We are looking at humanity as a bunch of people that have not achieved an ego, which is over the age of 12. I will explain this very carefully in the philosophy of individualism. When you look at a socialist, like, you have more than me. That's the same kind of behavior that my daughter, who's 5 years old, have. So it's the same thing. They just have an ego which has never, been evolved or grown up in whatsoever way. And the problem with achieving the highest level of freedom we can, regardless if we achieve anarchy or a libertarian society, is that when we go in that direction, in order to live that type of lifestyle, you need the child upbringing to be there. I mean, when we talk about anarchy, it's been seen around the world, and you can look in what's it called over there in Africa. I know they have anarchy in some places, and it's not working whatsoever. It doesn't. I look around in Thailand, and there's trash litter everywhere, because these people have absolutely no respect for finding a trash can, because the government does not put trash cans out. So these are some of the subjects. These people have not gotten to a point where they have that decency within themselves, where they're adult enough to say, you know what, I'm going to walk around with this bottle until I find that trash can. And the same thing is if you don't have a philosophy backing up your philosophy out there, then you cannot achieve this. People need to have something that they share. So individualism will be collectivistic, but never collectivist in whatsoever sense when the philosophy comes out. There's no way that we can't be collectivistic, because there will be a shared philosophy amongst the people when the philosophy comes out. And I do truly believe that anarchy, to some extent, can be achieved. I think a better solution might be, and I don't like the word government, I like to use the word administration. It's a lot nicer. I don't believe that anyone should have the right to rule me. I think that we should have a shared unity, an administration that makes sure that I am kept away from taking your freedom from you, and the same vice versa. So let me see. I'm going to look into a couple comments, and then I'm going to say thank you guys. I've actually got 10 people watching. It's a normal Monday. People are working. So I'm actually really glad that so many people came by. Let me see if there's anything here. Someone's complaining about internet connection. Any thoughts on... I haven't... Soulless, you were writing something about Makosnovist movement. Makosnovist. I don't know if I'm reading it correct. No, but maybe I should look into that. I'd actually be glad to. Lars, you can't take the jungle out of the Negro. Well, you might be right. I've had a few debates with people about EQ, and supposedly Africans have very, very low IQ. I usually say to people, my thorough belief is I don't really believe in EQ in the same way that I believe in... I don't believe in IQ in the same way I believe in EQ. I absolutely believe EQ has a big, big effect on IQ. I've met Danish people, sat in front of Danish people that have a PhD in mathematics. And still, I cannot explain to them simple things like, if you tax the rich people out of oblivion, they will move away, and then eventually there will not be any factories left, and there's no money and no whatever, and then you can get welfare. Woohoo! But simple things like this, the people that are well educated can still not understand. So, IQ? I don't know. Folks, I'm going to stop slowly now. I am really, really grateful you guys came by. I've actually got 11 people watching right now. I reached a level of 12, which is pretty cool. Folks, I'm back. I've had some harsh times, but I'm gonna try to do my best to start doing a little more. I know that a lot of people out there that have questions and do follow my work. My last message to you would be, you are not wrong, and keep fighting. There comes no higher philosophy in the world than positive boundaries between self and others. In other words, this is my body, that's your body. You own it. Don't ever let anyone tread on you. We can't do much in this world because we are already slaves, but at least we can try to spread the word of freedom. Indeed, thank you to everyone, and thank you, Valentine, I can see. Thank you, Michael, Mikel. I look forward to more. Indeed, I'm grateful that people out there follow me. It's nice to get a little shoulder clap occasionally, that there are people out there still, even though I haven't made any videos. Do me a favor, folks. My work is free, and I never wanted to make money off my work originally. I only made a paperback book because there was a lot of people requesting that a paperback was made. Otherwise, I would have only worked with digital stuff. I'm here for you. I use a lot of energy to work and give people a book that can enhance and empower your feelings and make you understand why you are right and they are wrong. So use it, and please help me expose the truth out there. Place the link, manipulism.com, on your walls, share it with people and so forth. Until next time, I will. What is the last comment here? What do you think about?
Until next time, I'm making a listen.
Brexit. I don't know what Brexit is. Do you think UK will... I mean, come on. Britain is already leftist. You can really feel this is going to be the last thing I will answer. When I look at debating people online, if they're from Britain, the coercion, the malignancy of narcissism is a lot stronger. Yes, I know Britain or England is leaving the European Union, which is only good. I am a multiculturalist. I do not believe in borders. So from that perspective, but I'm also not an idiot. I do understand that we cannot just put cultures together and make them believe that they are suddenly the same. It is not something that takes 14 days, 5 years, 50 years, or 100 years. Uniting the world will take a lot longer, and it will take, ideals. You cannot put all these things together without trouble. It's simply not possible. So, folks, I'm not going to comment anymore. I need to take care of my girlfriend a little, give her some attention. Until next time, I really appreciate you came by. Till next time, share my work, keep out your freedom. I know we lost, but we can only do our best. Folks, till next time, have a good one.